I feel like my spouse and I aren't on the same page spiritually, and it makes me frustrated. How can I work through this? I'm going to repeat that. I feel like my spouse and I aren't on the same page spiritually. How? And I feel frustrated. How can I work through it? Well, when you feel like your spouse and you are not on the same page, maybe, just maybe, she feels the same. This is something that will happen in any marriage. This is something that will happen when you're on a spiritual journey. Because you must understand, when God stirs your heart, it is a very personal thing. God may stir my wife's heart regarding something, and He stirs my heart regarding something that is just the opposite. And just because we are opposite and because we are not the same, we will not have the same stirrings, because we are a personality all by ourselves. We are unique in God's eyes, and God works with each one of us differently. So when your wife or your husband at a certain day is not on your spiritual high, maybe 2 weeks from now she will be or he will be on a spiritual high and you're not on a spiritual high. Be careful to being frustrated with how he or she responds to your spiritual high when God speaks to you, because before you can expect them to embrace that thought or that thing that God is sharing with you, you first need to work through it. Sometimes you will discover that you've read your spouse's reactions incorrectly. Or sometimes you will underestimate your spouse because she's not like you and you are not like her. Naomi and I, we are two different people. My wife is not me and I am not my wife. I'm the vocal one, she's not the vocal one. But if I say to my wife, if I think that she's not spiritual or she doesn't see things the way that I see it, I will make a big mistake. Many times I've discovered that her observation is pretty spiritual. She just did not release it. I think we must be careful because first, when God speaks to me, He speaks to me. And I can jump high on what God just said to me, but it doesn't mean she needs to jump high because she haven't heard the voice of God. She may hear the voice of God regarding that at a different timing. So give your spouse time to hear from the Lord Himself or herself. And sometimes people that have opposite personalities marry one another. Because if God gives you a spouse that exactly the same way you are, you may have a disaster. The reason your spouse is different than you is because you need somebody that's different than you. And maybe you need somebody that doesn't jump as high as you jump, because that actually gives you a balance in the end of the day in your covenant relationship. At the end of the day, she or he will catch up. God will never speak to the one and just leave the other one completely out of the picture. He's a God of the union, He's a God of the covenant, and ultimately it will make sense. I've learned that my wife, that is quieter than me, sometimes have wisdom and insight and observations and even prophetic discernment that I missed, because I am the pioneer. I run ahead. I'm breaking the ground. But she sometimes can observe it from a different angle, and sometimes I need that. And then I find out she may not think the way I think. She may not hear the way I hear. She may not have heard what I've heard. But she definitely complements what I've heard from the Lord. And in the end of the day, it works out for the good. God bless you. Bye-bye.